Sarah Riley, NMLS 18007, and Patricia Johnson, NMLS 583004. Caliber Home Loans Incorporated, NMLS ID number 15622. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Information, rates, and programs are subject to change without prior notice. All products are subject to credit and property approval. Not all products are available in all states for all dollar amounts. Other restrictions and limitations apply.
Welcome to Financial Fitness Northwest, coming at you live on 1150 KKNW. I'm your host, Sarah Riley.
And I'm your co-host, Patricia Johnson. We're the Riley Johnson team.
That's right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Good afternoon. It's our goal to help people navigate the mortgage and real estate market with expert advice from knowledgeable and trustworthy industry professionals. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned investor, we can help.
We strongly believe in giving back and empowering our community, and is our hope to provide our listeners with local charities and business to bring solutions to your daily life and provide you with opportunities to give back to your community as well.
Yes. So we're so excited. Today's going to be a great show. But first of all, it's kind of a big deal this weekend because it's Mother's Day.
That's right. And
it's our day.
It's our special day.
Yeah.
We're both moms.
I literally kicked Reagan's birthday to the following week. My middle daughter, she was born the Tuesday after Mother's Day. So, like every 7 years, she's going to follow my Mother's Day. But this year, her birthday's on Monday, and she really wanted her party this weekend. It's a family party, but still, I had to say, your birthday's not for a whole another week.
She doesn't.
So sorry.
She's going to figure that out for, one of these years. She's going to figure it out.
Well, she kind of figured it out. She
Yeah.
kind of was like, well, because it's Mother's Day, right? And you want to do something. And I was like, yeah, shouldn't I be honored?
Well, honestly, I feel that is completely appropriate, being that Peyton, your oldest daughter, also has your birthday. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of days that you don't have to share already.
I get nothing. Nothing.
You got to share everything.
I know. I almost had, actually, my youngest daughter. So I have 3 daughters. My oldest was born on my birthday, 10 days late. Then my middle was almost born on Mother's Day. And then my youngest was born like 6 days before Peyton and I's birthday. So I almost had 2 girls on my birthday. Her due date was my birthday, actually.
Yeah, and it's almost like, so now you have to juggle her birthday, Peyton's birthday, and your birthday all when they fall within the same week.
And it's like Thanksgiving, so basically I just get kicked to the curb. I get nothing.
I don't really think that's true.
You're right.
Because you're like
Sort
one
of.
of those, the birthday lasts a whole month kind of thing. So
But it's impossible because I have 2 others to celebrate.
I know.
And I like to put big parties on.
We
for
all
them.
celebrate you, though.
In your minds? Or...
No, for real.
Oh, I guess.
Come on.
Sorry. Well, it's Mother's Day this weekend, so I wanted to talk a little about Mother's Day. Mom, I want to know what, I think I know, but what is like what would you envision your ideal Mother's Day?
Well, I always think it's kind of interesting because, although I love my children, my grandchildren, it's so fun to celebrate together and hang out. But it's like Mother's Day, and then you should get to do whatever you want, right?
So you don't want to be around your kids on Mother's Day?
No, I do. I just would like them all to come golfing with me. That's what I would like.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that.
How about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, I don't want to go golfing. No, I don't want that. But I do want to like do something for myself that's quiet. I would like Mother's Day to be a quiet day.
Yeah.
And it feels like you spend Mother's Day honoring all the other amazing moms in my life, which is fantastic. But one thing I do really want every year is waffles in bed, with like the whipped cream. I want a mimosa. I want the whole strawberry sauce, made from scratch. Love that with bacon. That's what I would like. That in the morning in the bed. But this doesn't work out like that ever. No. You literally try, but then I hear chaos ensuing downstairs and Randy's, and then I smell things. I'm like, I can't. This is not relaxing. I've got to go see what's going on. They need me. They need my help.
Yeah. Well,
what about when we were kids? What did you want to do then?
Well, I think that's, it sort of changes because when you have little kids, it's hard to really you don't get to just check out and do something you want. But as you get older kids, like Now you're older, and so like we're gonna go out to lunch on Friday and kind of have our own little Mother's Day.
I know,
right?
I really
Before
wanted
the
to do
kids.
something nice outside, like go for a hike or.
Yeah, we can do that.
But
in
it's
the rain.
supposed to rain.
I know.
Boo. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, the other thing I would really enjoy doing, but I think in about 4 years when Dylan is allowed in public again, would be to go to brunch.
Yeah, we did. We used
to do that, and that was
fun.
really nice.
Go to church, go to brunch after. It's all fun, but not fun when
No, you're wrangling a
kids are-
screaming snake. It's not fun. That's not relaxing.
not at all.
No, you're like standing up, bouncing a baby, trying to drink your mimosa in the other hand. It's not relaxing. It's okay. I'll take my brunch to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think Randy's going to make us brunch.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Do you know what he has on the menu?
Waffles?
Yeah. Heck yeah, he's got waffles. And also, he thinks he's going to make crab eggs Benedict.
And waffles?
Yeah.
Wow. It is going to be like a...
And then he asked me if I wanted a Bloody Mary bar.
Oh,
I was like, you have got some big plans, man.
yeah.
But I said it was okay. That was a lot.
That's too much,
mimosa, some he's like, oh, so then like a fruit tray. I was like, well, yeah.
He's really putting some thought into it.
He is.
You got to love that.
Has he let you know that we're having brunch?
No,
yet?
I haven't even been invited yet. I'm sure I have a standing invitation, though.
You
so.
do. He's got a lot of ideas, but yeah. Anyways, it's happening. Yeah. I don't think outside, though, although we did all the yard work, but it's supposed to rain on Sunday.
It'll be great, whatever it is. Yep.
Well, to all you moms out there, make sure that you spoil yourselves and take a minute and do whatever you want to do for the day because it is your day. When we come back from commercial, we are going to be talking to Dr. Olson. He's a physician scientist who cares for children with brain tumors and discovers and develops new cancer therapies. His lab work led to 5 national clinic trials, all of which he led a phase 3 trial through the Children's Oncology Group. So we're so excited. And then second half of today's show is Patricia and I are going to discuss the nuts and bolts of the home buying process. It'll be great information for the first-time home buyer as well as the buyer that may have not purchased a home in the last 5 years because really so much has changed. So you can find out about any more on our topics discussed online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.
Are you intimidated by the seller's market we're in and unsure how to secure a home in a multiple offer situation? The Riley Johnson team with Caliber Home Loans has helped hundreds of buyers successfully secure the property of their dreams, even in this challenging market. A pre-approval letter from the Riley Johnson team carries more weight because we have the reputation of closing loans quickly with our state-of-the-art technology known as the ultimate home buying experience. To learn more about our premier service and technology to help you secure the home of your dreams, contact us today at Riley Johnson Team at CaliberHomeLoans.com or visit our website at RileyJohnsonTeam.com. Sarah Riley, NMLS 18007, and Patricia Johnson, NMLS 583004. Caliber Home Loans Incorporated, NMLS ID number 15622. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Information, rates, and programs are subject to change without prior notice. All products are subject to credit and property approval. Not all products are available in all states for all dollar amounts. Other restrictions and limitations apply.
In 1752, Benjamin Franklin looked to nature and had the crazy idea to fly a kite during a lightning storm. In 2004, Fred Hutch researchers caught lightning in a bottle when the unconventional idea struck to use venom from the Deathstalker scorpion to illuminate cancer cells during surgery so they could be removed safely and completely. Bold ideas need big support. So give now at projectviolet.org. Fred Hutch. Cures start here.
Giving local voices a chance to shine. Alternative Talk 1150.
You're tuning in to Financial Fitness NW live on 1150 KKNW. We provide our listeners with local charities and business to bring solutions to your daily life and provide you with opportunities to give back to your community as well. Now in studio, we have Dr. Olson. He's a founder of Presage Biosciences and Blaze Bioscience, the tumor paint company. His team invented chlorotoxin-based tumor paint, which led to the clinical candidate BLZ-100, developed by Blaze Bioscience and currently in human trials. Dr. Olson earned his Ph.D. in pharmacology in 1989 and an MD, I'm sorry, in 1991, both from the University of Michigan. He completed his residency in pediatrics in 94 and his fellowship in pediatrics oncology in 97, both at the University of Washington. And he's currently a full member at Fred Hutchison Cancer Research Center, a professor at the University of Washington, and an attending physician at Children's Hospital in Seattle. So welcome, Dr. Olson.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wow, we know you're really smart when we can barely read your bio.
Too many big words. Yikes.
Whoa, I was glad I didn't have that one. We're so glad to have you in studio and share the amazing cutting-edge things you guys are doing. So first off, I think, could you just kind of tell us about the Tumor Paint Company and what that is, how you got started with that?
Sure. So it all began in 2004 when I had a patient who was a 16-year-old girl who had a type of aggressive brain tumor. And the surgeons operated on her for 16 hours.
Wow.
And, you know, the goal in pediatric brain surgery is to get as much cancer as you can out and take out as little normal brain as possible so you don't harm the patient. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, after that long surgery, there was a big piece of cancer left behind because the surgeons thought that it was normal brain and they didn't want to paralyze her or cause harm. So that day, we decided to figure out a way to make the cancer light up. We had absolutely no idea how we were going to do that. But over the next 6 weeks, we came up with an idea. And the idea involved using this protein that comes from the Israeli deathstalker scorpion to deliver a little molecular flashlight. And we grew a human brain tumor on the back of a mouse and injected what we called tumor paint into the tail vein of the mouse. And an hour later, the cancer was bright green, and the rest of the mouse wasn't glowing. So we knew we were onto something.
Wow. How would you even come up with this venom? I mean, where did that, in 6 weeks, how did you guys figure that out? Does someone know about venoms?
Well, no, it's kind of a crazy story. Patrick Gabikian was a neurosurgeon who came to work in my lab on this project, and he wanted to do his own experiments to find out what was different for the brain tumor compared to the normal brain. And I said, Patrick, you're a neurosurgeon, but you're not Superman. I think you're only here for a year, and if you do those experiments, you'll barely get done, and we won't actually be able to make progress toward the actual product that we want to bring into patients. So I said, what I'd like you to do instead is to go on the computer every day and read everything that everybody else has done that looks at differences between brain tumors and normal brain, and I want you to come back to me with your priority list each day of what you think we should try to use. And we did this every day for 6 weeks. He'd come into my office around 6 at night, and he'd say, these are the 50 things I looked at. These were my top 3 candidates. This is why I think that they would be good candidates. And every day I would shoot those down because I could see where the experiments were going to fail at some point, having, a little gray hair. And at that time, now it's a lot, I could see where each of these was going to not progress. And so each day I'd send him back to the drawing board, and he kept saying, I want to do my own experiments. And no. There's people that do this kind of work, and they publish a list, but they don't know what to do with it, And after about 6.5 weeks, he came back to me and he said, well, now we're totally scraping the bottom of the barrel. All I've got for you is I found this work that was done down in University of Alabama, Birmingham. They were studying how chloride, what's in table salt, gets in and out of our cells. And the way that you study these ions in science is to use venoms, because when scorpions paralyze their prey, they release these little mini proteins that block ion channels, so chloride can't get into a cell. And so that's people literally were milking scorpions.
Oh my gosh!
You tape them to your desk. You put a little electrode on its stinger, and a drop of venom comes out, and they would isolate that into little fractions. And some of those fractions block chloride ion channels. Some block sodium. Some block potassium.
Wow!
And it just so happened that they were using brain tumor cells to do these studies.
Oh my goodness!
And they recognized that this was binding to brain tumor cells. And so he said, that would be really interesting to try that, to attach a fluorescent tag to it, inject it into the tail vein of a mouse, and see if it goes to the cancer. And so I promised him that if it didn't work, he could do his own experiments.
He was probably so excited that day that you're like, you like this idea, right?
Yeah. So we tried it, and it lit up, and the two of us were dancing in the hallways at Fred Hutch. I mean, how often do you have two grown men dancing?
That's awesome.
It really was. It was fantastic. It's the beginning of what has now been a 13-year campaign to develop this for human patients. And so we took it as far as we could at Fred Hutch. And then it started to get to the point where the next steps were things like manufacturing and a 3,200-page document that had to go to the FDA. And my team really didn't have that expertise. So fortunately, Heather Franklin led a team over at a company called Zymogenetics that had just been acquired by Bristol Myers Squibb. And she brought her team with her over, and they started Blaze Bioscience. And Hutch licensed the technology to Blaze. And so they've really done the heavy lifting on making the clinical product and getting it into human clinical trials. And now we've treated over 80 patients, including over 20 kids, because kids inspired this and because their families did so much to make it happen in the early days by raising money to fund the experiments. We've kept kids on par with adults. And usually drug companies will develop a drug for adults and usually don't even go back to kids to do clinical trials or that unless they're forced. Of all the drugs that I used to treat kids with brain tumors, only one is actually approved for use in kids, and all the rest we have to use off-label. So at Blaze and at Fred Hutch, we've decided that we're going to keep kids in the forefront, and we're going to try to get our first FDA approval for kids with brain tumors, even before we go after the big markets that could, really help potentially 250,000 patients a year with cancer.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So you said this started 13 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
How long does it normally take to get it to be an approved?
We're right on the usual timeline.
Are
you? Yeah, so it's usually in the range of 15 to 20 years from the time the idea is conceived until you have an FDA approval.
Wow, that speaks volumes for why people are going through all these trials and things. It's like if you just can stay healthy. And then, because who knows what's on the cusp? Who knows what's coming, right? Because it's like 15, 20 years in the making to get these things approved for people to be using, right?
And we've really seen that a lot in the last few years. I think that people don't really understand how much we are on this precipice of having huge advances. We've had some of those recently. Some of the CAR T-cell therapy that was developed at Fred Hutch and Seattle Children's was being developed over the course of like 30 years. And when that came to fruition, they treated the first patients with it, these kids with cancer that had come back 4 or 5 times. They were in hospice care. And I saw one of those guys 4 weeks after he had CAR T-cells, and he looked like he was on a basketball team. He looked so healthy.
Wow.
And he had been in hospice in the ICU, and he got a tablespoon of his own cells that were genetically modified and put back into his body, and they went after the cancer and completely cleared it. So, know, with that initial molecule those initial T cells that they made, they have like a 93% complete response rate, and most of those patients are alive and cancer-free 2 years after they were treated. So, I mean, that's
amazing,
huge impact, and it was discovered here locally at Fred Hutch and Seattle Children's.
That's so awesome. Aren't we pretty? I mean, Seattle's pretty high up there as far as the research and. We
really are. It's some people have called Fred Hutch the crown jewel of the National Comprehensive Cancer Centers because, we're only a tenth of the size of some of the other centers, but our impact has been so outsized compared to that.
Wow.
I mean, to have 3 Nobel laureates on our faculty and to have discovered bone marrow transplantation, this CAR T-cell therapy, tumor paint, and so many other things. The Women's Health Initiative that saves 20,000 women a year from getting breast cancer because they recommended against estrogen replacement following menopause. There's just every cylinder's firing over that place.
That's incredible, and you're part of it.
Yeah,
it's fun to be part of it.
On the cutting edge.
So let's talk a little bit more in depth about the tumor paint. So how it benefits, the client, the doctor when you guys are in there doing surgery. So how does it really work, and are you guys seeing a lot of success with it?
Yeah, so I'm going to be really careful in how I answer this question, partly because the FDA is studying this right now, and I need to make sure I don't step on their toes, let them do their job.
Yeah, don't do that.
So what I'll say is that we have now treated over 80 patients. We haven't seen any dose-limiting toxicity, meaning we haven't had anybody have a side effect that even caused us to pause and say, boy, maybe we shouldn't be treating with this. So,
Wow.
It's really been, like the worst we've seen is minor headaches or a little queasy stomach in all those patients, which is great. That's the first step, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing that in almost every type of brain cancer, most of the cancers are lighting up, and that it's straightforward to distinguish the cancer from the normal tissue when you look at it with the device that we use. So again, I just want to report, what's been out there in the literature. There was a national meeting a few weeks ago where they reported that tumor paint was used here in Bellevue and at the University of Washington here at Overlake Hospital, and it was used in women with breast cancer.
Oh.
And interestingly, a third of women who have breast cancer surgery get a call like 2 weeks later, and they're told that there was cancer cells too close to the margin, and they either have to come back for another surgery, which is a huge deal, or they have to have more intensive therapy. And the reason that they miss so many margins is because when they're doing the operation, they have to suspend the operation. The woman is under anesthesia. Everybody steps back from the table. They send the tissue down to pathologist, and the pathologist is supposed to do sectioning and staining and looking under the microscope and tell them whether they got enough or not, because you can't tell the difference between cancer and normal breast tissue.
Right.
Wow.
Most of us think that it's easy for a surgeon to see these things, but you really can't. Well, with tumor paint, I believe it was 12 out of 13 women, their cancers lit up, and the normal breast around it did not light up. And so, when I said that we could help as many as 250,000 patients a year, that's a step in that direction, is to learn that it works not only for pediatric brain tumors, but for that type of cancer. And then we've done a clinical trial in patients with skin cancer, melanoma. And in our preclinical work, the work that we've done before we got to human patients, we saw activity in prostate cancer, colon cancer, many types of cancer. So we're hoping that turns out to be true in human patients as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you could use that just across the board, it just seems like that's just amazing.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a major advance in cancer surgery in probably half a century, and the fact is it's the first step in eliminating cancer. And it's important for most cancers, for many cancers, you don't have to get every cell out. That's why we use chemotherapy and radiation and immunotherapy and these other things, but you really want to get out the bulky disease, because if you have big chunks of cancer left behind, those communities work with each other to become resistant to chemotherapy and radiation therapy. So we're hoping that tumor paint will help surgeons take out as much cancer as they possibly safely can to help guide their surgical judgment, and then to leave behind normal tissues that are really important, particularly things like the brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
So, so tell us a little bit about Project Violet. How
Sure.
does that come into play?
So this also goes back to our early work, where when we first discovered this, and even after we had data in mice that had cancer showing that the cancers lit up, I wrote several grants, and all of the grants were denied because grants are reviewed by other scientists around the country, and they were skeptical that we could pull this off. They thought, oh, this is highly ambitious. It may not work. You might not get it done in the time frame of the grant. And our patient families said, if that's the problem, you stay focused on the science, and we're going to raise some money to help you guys out. And so they started having chili cook-offs and golf tournaments and greeting card sales. And altogether, those families initially raised $8 million to help us
Wow.
out of those kind of events. There was no big checks in there. These
That's
were,
amazing.
literally chili cook-offs in people's garages.
That's crazy.
And this is how much this community cares about kids with cancer, that they put up that $8 million. So when we transferred tumor paint to Blaze Bioscience, then I had an opportunity to reinvent my lab and said, what can we do next? Well, we had a decade of experience working with these molecules, these mini proteins from scorpions. And so we started Project Violet, which is named after a patient that I cared for. And I can tell you that story in a minute if we have
Yeah.
opportunity.
We'd love to hear that.
And with Project Violet, we gave people a chance to go side by side with us as we discovered drugs in nature and tried to turn them into drugs for human patients. And we started out where people could adopt a drug candidate. And they would choose a drug that came from a scorpion or a violet or a potato or a tomato or, we even now have a drug candidate that comes from a penguin
Really?
And yeah, and sea urchins, and there's just all these amazing things. You think about it, plants and animals can't go to Walgreens when they need a drug, so they have to make it. If they encode it in their DNA and make proteins, they can pass it down to their children. So the healthiest scorpions get to make baby scorpions and grandbaby scorpions, and so there's evolutionary pressure to make good drugs. And these drugs have potential to be used for human patients. Our team has discovered over 80,000 of these in sources from nature.
Wow.
And Project Violet goes back to that same principle of here the community can help us fill in the gaps where the science isn't quite mature enough yet to get the big NIH grants. So we started Project Violet when I gave a TEDx talk here in Seattle in 2013, and we have since raised somewhere between $10 and $20 million. There's some numbers that are still coming in on it right now.
That's a lot of bowls of chili. That's all I can say.
That's for sure. And what it's allowed us to do is I just hired the 45th scientist on the team.
Wow.
We've built a robot that is making these drug candidates day and night. And we have a really strong engagement on the Project Violet Facebook. So anybody who's listening that wants to go to Project Violet Facebook, they can do that. They want to go to our website. It's projectviolet.org. And just see what we're doing and become part of it. Those people who support us are welcome to come down to the lab and have a tour, meet the scientists, take a look through some of the microscopes, and watch the robot making drugs.
I was going to say, do we get to see the robot? That was going to be my question.
Yeah. So we have open houses, and those in the community who are interested can send us an email through projectviolet.org, and we can invite them to one of the open houses.
So were the families the people that first started with the fundraising, were they families that were affected by cancer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting that there used to be a time when there was like this brick wall between medicine and fundraising. And, when I was trained, we were told as doctors, absolutely never talk to your patients about fundraising and things like that. And I found that it actually is a really important part of the healing process. If you look across the whole country, parents who have lost a child to cancer or other diseases have somewhere in the range of about a 90% divorce rate because it's so hard for the two parents to support each other, and they grieve in different ways and at different times, and it drives a wedge in a marriage. And among the families that I've cared for, we have about 90% of them are still together.
Wow.
And I think that's because they really form this broader community, and they're around other people who have been through this. When they come to, tomorrow night, we'll have about 20 of these families coming to Sally's in my house for a concert. Naomi Washira will be singing for the patient families. And we have families coming who I cared for 25 years ago, some families 10 years ago, some families that we're treating now that will be there. And so those new families that are going through it now can see families that have been through that path and then get advice, when somebody says, I can't believe he wants to go golfing when we're in this deep, dark, sorrowful place. Another family can say, let him go golfing. That's what he needs to do, and let's go have coffee or a glass of wine instead.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and really people, they want to do things for other people, especially when they're going through, having a sick kid. We had Footprints for Fight on the show, and her son had a brain tumor at Seattle Children's. And, then she started this foundation and is helping all these families at Seattle Children's.
Exactly, yeah.
So people want to give back.
And it really, one thing to keep in mind is that the numbers are small, so it really takes the whole community. One of the things that I have heard a mom say that really resonated with me is that she's not doing this for her daughter who passed away. She's doing this for her other 3 kids because none of us know when the diagnosis might be around the corner. We all hope that it isn't. But whether it's our family or an extended family or someone in the community that we don't know, what we really have to recognize is that there's no financial incentive for drug companies to create drugs for kids. So we have to do it entirely through philanthropy and other ways of kind of zeroing out these costs. And so the fact that the Seattle community is paying for 45 scientists to work on these kids' behalf, and that these families know that there's an army down at Fred Hutch absolutely hammering away day and night, plus over at Seattle Children's there's another army, that really means a lot. And is an important part of the healing.
Well, I would love to hear Violet's story. Do you have time? Can you share that with
absolutely.
us really quick?
Yeah, so Violet was a patient that I was taking care of who had a brainstem glioma. The brainstem is what connects our brain to the rest of the body, and when a tumor occurs there, you can't take it out surgically because it fills that whole space. And so every patient who has that kind of cancer passes away. I've never had a child survive in 25 years of doing this. None of my colleagues have ever had a patient survive in 25 years of doing, or in their years of doing this. And so, and we're pretty open with these kids. So Violet knew that she was going to die. She had seen the donor mark on her mom's license, and she said, Dr. Olson, how come you don't know more about my kind of cancer so that you could cure me? And I said, well, the problem is that your kind of cancer doesn't have surgery, so we don't get tissue. Mm-hmm. And so, it really makes it hard to study it. And she said, well, when I die, I want you to take my tumor out, and I want you to make research tools from it and share it with scientists all over the world. And I thought that was the most selfless thing I'd ever heard coming from a little 10-year-old girl. And because of that, I wanted Project Violet to be named for her. It's the coolest science we were ever doing. And I thought, here's this little girl who grew up in kind of out in the woods in the Olympic Peninsula and loved nature, and we were creating drugs from violets, and it all kind of just came together that this is what we need to do.
That is such a beautiful story. Gosh.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Really amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here and for all the
oh my gosh, yes,
amazing work that you're doing.
It's been a true pleasure.
So great. Thank you for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back from the break, Sarah and I will be discussing the home buying process for first-time home buyers, as well as changes that buyers who have not purchased a home in the last 5 years might not be familiar with. To find out more about any topics discussed on today's show, you can find us online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.
In 1752, Benjamin Franklin looked to nature and had the crazy idea to fly a kite during a lightning storm. In 2004, Fred Hutch researchers caught lightning in a bottle when the unconventional idea struck to use venom from the deathstalker scorpion to illuminate cancer cells during surgery so they could be removed safely and completely. Bold ideas need big support. So give now at projectviolet.org. Fred Hutch. Cures start here.
Are you intimidated by the seller's market we're in and unsure how to secure a home in a multiple offer situation? The Riley Johnson team with Caliber Home Loans has helped hundreds of buyers successfully secure the property of their dreams, even in this challenging market. A pre-approval letter from the Riley Johnson team carries more weight because we have the reputation of closing loans quickly with our state-of-the-art technology known as the ultimate home buying experience. To learn more about our premier service and technology to help you secure the home of your dreams, contact us today at Riley Johnson Team at CaliberHomeLoans.com or visit our website at RileyJohnsonTeam.com. Sarah Riley, NMLS 18007, and Patricia Johnson, NMLS 583004. Caliber Home Loans Incorporated, NMLS ID number 15622. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Information, rates, and programs are subject to change without prior notice. All products are subject to credit and property approval. Not all products are available in all states for all dollar amounts. Other restrictions and limitations apply.
Make us part of your daily routine. Alternative Talk 1150.
All right. Well, you're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest live on 1150 KKNW, where we're here to help you navigate the mortgage and real estate market with expert advice from knowledgeable and trustworthy industry professionals. And right now, that's us.
Welcome us.
Welcome us to the show. So I wanted to just give you guys a little background about Patricia and I and on our mortgage lending experience. Patricia and I have a combined 22 years experience in lending. We're both senior loan officers at Caliber Home Loans. We have a consultative approach to lending, recognizing our clients' needs to find the right mortgage solution and educate them throughout the process, which is far more complicated than it was just a few years ago. We truly love helping people. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a move-up buyer, purchasing your dream home, we love to help. And we've had the privilege to work with thousands of families to assist them in the financing of their home purchase or refinance. So we are a resource for you with any questions. And right now, we're going to kind of touch base on What are we going to talk about, Mom?
Well, we thought it would be good to just sort of take it back to, the first-time home buyer, but like Sarah said,
Really
there
any
are
buyer.
a lot of changes in the industry, and so if you haven't bought a home in the last 5 or 10 years, things have changed quite a bit. So it's good to understand, the disclosures, how they've changed, and what you should expect from your lender if you
Right.
are in the process of purchasing.
So first off, deciding on a lender. Mom, do you want to talk about what's the difference between, like, when you're going out to start, pick a lender, what's the difference between, like, us, a mortgage, a more private mortgage company, and, like a bank or credit union?
Well, I like to tell my customers that really the biggest difference is that we do mortgage. That is our core competency, and so we do it really well. When you go to, a lot of people think, oh, well, I bank with, XYZ. I won't name banks. Bank X, big bank. That's where I have my checking and savings. Well, though big banks, they do checking and savings and money markets, and, maybe that's a good place to go get your auto loan. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a good mortgage company. So it's really good to consider that. Also, you've all heard the old term banker's hours. Sometimes when you're working with a big bank, you're dealing with banking hours, and the difficult part of that is that most of the important time frames in the real estate market when you're purchasing are many times in the evening, on the weekends. People are out shopping on the weekends and viewing properties, and they're making offers on the weekends. So it's important to be able to work with a loan officer from a mortgage company such as Caliber Home Loans, the Riley Johnson team, because we are available on the weekend when you need us to get a pre-approval letter out so you can make your offer.
Right. And also, the difference between us and that I like to mention too to people is with a bank, their processes are, not streamlined like ours is. All of our processing and underwriting is local in our office. All we do is mortgage or mortgage experts versus a bank where, it's probably your loan's probably getting sent to Texas. There's a lot of people touching the file. The loan officer doesn't really have necessarily a lot of control over what's going on. And they have a lot of limited products available. So versus a privately owned mortgage company usually has more options available to you. So,
Exactly.
And all they do is mortgages, like what you said.
Mm-hmm. So the other piece of that we should probably just mention is as you're not only shopping for a lender, but some people want to call up and say, what's your rate? And, in this market and really in any market, the rate is not that important. It is important to be working with someone that is competitive for sure, but there's so much more that goes into a mortgage, and meeting a closing date is incredibly important in this market. So you want to have somebody first and foremost that can close your loan on time, but also be able to offer you the products necessary to meet your goals and needs that you have for your purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's this kind of stigma, about rate shopping. And I see like these millennials going out to buy their first home, and their parents who bought home maybe, 10, 15 years ago. And they're like, you got to shop rates. You got to talk to a bunch of lenders. Well, that's really not the case anymore. We're so governmentally regulated. All of our pricing hits are determined by Fannie and Freddie if you're doing conforming loan. And so rates just only vary, but really an eighth between lender to lender. There's not this huge swing in interest rates like there used to be, because where you can only make X amount of money on loans. It's just, it's governmentally regulated. So you're not really rate shopping when you're talking to lenders. You're looking to find a lender that's going to be, advocating for your best interest, offering you products that are competitive and meet your financial goals.
Yeah, exactly. That's really where it comes down to. And like I say, closing on time. And
Huge.
Back to the big banks, it's sometimes difficult because they are large. They may not be able to get things done quite as quickly as a company such as ours, where we have all of our processing, underwriting, funding happens right in our office. So it's all very much under our control.
Right. And so the next step, you're meeting with these lenders is to get pre-approved. And so let's talk a little bit about what pre-approval means, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to, give you some information and you can let me know what do I qualify for? Well, there's pre-qual. People used to use that lingo, which I think is out. Really, there's no such thing as pre-qual. You're either pre-approved or you're not.
Exactly.
Right.
Or you're not.
Or you're not.
And that means that you have sat down with Sarah and I, you've given your full loan application, you've provided your income information, you've provided your assets showing your funds to close, and we can give you a full pre-approval. And that is going to carry the most weight and allow you to win the bid when you're out there looking for a house. And it also really helps, especially with first-time buyers, to go through that process before you begin looking, because you want to make sure that you are looking at homes that are actually within the purchase price and payment that you want to make. And
Exactly.
don't go out and get your sights set really high on something that, you might be disappointed because you can't really do that. So,
right. And also getting all of that information up front, which we do. We just unbury any issue that could possibly arise initially, so that when you're out house shopping, there's no question. There's nothing to worry about. Once you buy a property, your loan has to go to underwriting, but we've already solved all the problems, if there is any.
Yeah. And it puts you in a much stronger position, too, because you can do a shorter close because you've already done all the upfront work. So,
yep. So we talked about that. Getting pre-approved is the first step, really, and in the process. And actually, even if you're a year out, I think talking to a lender and getting your ducks in order, I mean, it's the first step in planning to buy even in the future.
It is, and especially if you have any credit concerns or any credit, events in your past, it's really good to do it in advance of being really ready to buy, because then we have a chance to help you with your credit, get your score up a little bit if it needs to be, or advise you on what your next steps should be to prepare for purchasing.
Right. And then, so you're pre-approved. We've done the documentation. We've gotten it all up front. A lot of the nice thing about Caliber Home Loans is that we have the ultimate home buying experience. So a lot of times our clients can do everything electronically. We don't need nearly the documentation that other lenders do.
Yeah, it is so cool.
You literally have to sign one form and do an online account verification, but we don't ask for pay stubs, W-2s. It's not for every client, but we always take the path of least resistance first, and then if additional things are needed, they could be asked for. Worst case scenario, you're self-employed. We're going to need full tax returns for that, business and personal. But we ask for all those things up front, so it's you know what you're getting yourself into.
So you've gotten pre-approved, and you're going to start shopping, but what should you do and not do during that time period?
I would not spend your down payment.
That's a good one, yeah. Keep it saved.
Try not to move too much money around.
Yeah.
It's easily documented, but whatever money is deposited into your account that is not from payroll has to be documented. So if you go on a vacation with your buddies and they pay you for half the hotel, we literally have to document that amount of money. So where it came from, source it. So it could be a simple transfer between your savings and checking. That's no big deal. But just know that those little things lead us to have to ask you for more items.
If you want it to be easy, then just keep all your money where it is in the account and don't move it around.
And don't close your accounts either.
Don't close your accounts. And don't go buy a car.
Oh, yeah, don't do that either.
Because that's not good. Especially like I had a person once that was going to refinance, and they were all pre-approved. I mean, we had the loan done. We were just working to closing. And then when you go to closing, you have to sign this little disclosure that says nothing's changed. You haven't obtained any new credit. Well, they went and bought a car because they were going to save $300 a month. And they spent the $300 they were saving before we even got the loan closed. And so then we had to go back, and luckily they still did qualify. But
it could break the loan.
It could break your deal. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't apply for anything. I mean, you can use the credit cards that you already have. You have to qualify with the monthly payment, but don't make any huge purchases.
Nothing that requires a credit inquiry.
Right. Don't be taking out a new Best Buy card for your new flat screen for your house.
Yeah, don't
because
do that.
We then have to document all that. So those are don'ts. Also don't quit your job if your employment changes.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
And I guess I would just say, if you have any questions, just talk to your lender before you make a move. That's always best.
Yes, absolutely. And we can guide you and give you advice. I just had somebody, just a couple weeks ago said, can I buy a fridge now?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, get your fridge.
Just check in with your lender first. And then the next step is choosing your real estate agent.
Yes. So a lot of times, clients will come to us. They've already have a real estate agent, and then they're coming to us to get pre-approved. But I like to say, if you're out there and you're thinking about it, get your financing in order. And we certainly have an option to help you with a agent referral. We know a lot of agents. We know agents in different geographical locations. We know agents that specialize in different types of properties. So we can definitely help guide you to someone that would be really well suited to you.
Yes, and really experienced. It's not always the best bet to go with, a friend of a friend or, someone on Facebook. You really want to make sure as your lender and as your agent that you're picking someone that's really qualified in this market. It's important. So asking them the right questions, just like your lender. I would ask your lender and your agent, how many deals have they done? How long have they been in the industry? What is their experience?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you meet some agent that you want to work with and they work at Costco and then they just do real estate part-time on the side, it might not be the best situation, because you want someone that is full-time, that is serious about their business and definitely has the experience. And it's so important because they can really protect you. I mean, bad things can happen when you're not with someone that knows what they're doing.
And they can cost you a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on both sides, lender and agent.
Lender and agent, for sure.
So what to expect, the next thing is when you found a house, you got your agent, you found your house, then you have an inspection and appraisal. What's the difference?
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. So a lot of people don't really understand the difference of the two. But an inspection is something you're going to do once you're in contract. Sometimes people will do pre-inspections in this market as well. But that is an inspection of the home. The inspector is someone that you hire, and they do a full evaluation of the home to make sure that there are not any issues with the home, with the foundation, with the roof, all the aspects of the home. That is an item that's really important to do, especially on a resale property, and it's something that you as the buyer are responsible for. It does not really have anything to do with your actual financing. It can come into play as far as if there are repairs. It's a good negotiating tool, but it's something you pay for up front, and that's money that you're going to spend regardless if the deal goes through.
Right. And then the appraisal is once you have had the inspection done, you have moved forward and accepted the inspection, then you would order the appraisal, which is also a cost to you, but it's part of your closing costs. It's part of financing, and that's where they go out and assess the value of the home. Generally, the value comes in at the purchase price or close to. Depends on, this market is a little bit crazy in where you're buying. If you're like way over asking, there's things that can come into play there, but the appraisal is to assess the value of the home.
Yes, it's the collateral that your loan is being given to you against. So the lender needs to review the collateral and make sure that it is sufficient for the amount of money that you're borrowing to buy it.
And something to note on appraisals is that they're not. The lender has nothing to do with the appraisal. It is ordered through a third-party system. We have no contact with the appraiser or anything, and they have their own, rules that they're held to and calculations to where they come up with the value of the property.
Exactly.
So.
Yes, those rules changed some years ago, and so obviously it used to be a lot different, but now we have absolutely no contact. So that is definitely something we do not have control over value, which is the way it should be.
It is the way it should be. So we have so many more things. I kind of feel like we should stop here and call this part 1, and then we could do another segment, part 2, where we go into disclosures and forms, because there's so much to cover. This is why you need to meet with a lender. There is so much to cover, right? What do you think?
Absolutely,
sure. Sound good? Okay. So we're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we are going to have the market update. I was like, we just did the market update. We did not do the market update yet. We are going to have that when we come back. We're going to tell you 3 reasons why this housing market is not a bubble. So thank you guys for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. You can find out about any topics discussed on today's show online at www.financialfitnessnw.com.
Are you intimidated by the seller's market we're in and unsure how to secure a home in a multiple offer situation? The Riley Johnson team with Caliber Home Loans has helped hundreds of buyers successfully secure the property of their dreams, even in this challenging market. A pre-approval letter from the Riley Johnson team carries more weight because we have the reputation of closing loans quickly with our state-of-the-art technology known as the ultimate home buying experience. To learn more about our premier service and technology to help you secure the home of your dreams, contact us today at Riley Johnson Team at CaliberHomeLoans.com or visit our website at RileyJohnsonTeam.com. Sarah Riley, NMLS 18007, and Patricia Johnson, NMLS 583004. Caliber Home Loans Incorporated, NMLS ID number 15622. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Information, rates, and programs are subject to change without prior notice. All products are subject to credit and property approval. Not all products are available in all states for all dollar amounts. Other restrictions and limitations apply.
In 1752, Benjamin Franklin looked to nature and had the crazy idea to fly a kite during a lightning storm. In 2004, Fred Hutch researchers caught lightning in a bottle when the unconventional idea struck to use venom from the deathstalker scorpion to illuminate cancer cells during surgery so they could be removed safely and completely. Bold ideas need big support. So give now at projectviolet.org. Fred Hutch. Cures start here.
Want to hear something different from talk radio? Keep your dial on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Financial Fitness Northwest, live on 1150 KKNW. It's now time for the Riley Johnson Team Market Update. We are dedicated to provide the tools you need to make informed decisions and how today's events in our local economy can affect your buying power. And so we are going to talk to you about the 3 reasons this housing market is not a bubble.
That's right.
I know people probably have some concerns out there because the values have gone up so much and they're thinking this happened before and then what happened?
Right.
Crash.
They are thinking that. I feel like the tides are turning a little bit. I just read this article in the Seattle Times about how this is not a bubble. It was really fascinating. I'm going to try and find it and put it on the website so you guys can see it. But I feel like, I feel at first, last year, everybody kept saying it's going to crash. But now I think they're coming to the realization that it's not a bubble because we're actually nowhere near the numbers. And we're going to tell you why, that we were at when it did crash in 2007.
Yeah, and another thing that's going on right now is just that we have so many more buyers than we have houses available.
Right.
So
there's no way to even catch up the inventory. I mean, I don't. The last time I saw the projected timeline, it was like 2020 something. We might be close to catching up, but I don't know. I mean, if people keep coming here, how that's really ever going to happen?
I don't know.
There's not enough land.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. So the number one reason why this is not a bubble is that the lending industry as a whole is doing quality mortgages. So we're only doing mortgages that are responsible. You have to be able to prove the ability to repay the mortgage, and that was not necessarily the case during the crash.
No, it was not.
There was just so much leniency and subprime mortgages.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the mortgages back then had names like Nina, Nay, like no income, no asset, no employment. You could fog a mirror and get a loan, and so that was not responsible lending, and that led to a lot of problems.
Right, and that is not the case now whatsoever.
Not at all. Ability to repay. Everybody has to be able to prove their ability to repay.
Right. And then 2, builders are not overbuilding. So the numbers reported for new construction have not even caught up to what was being built during the 1980s. Is that crazy to hear?
It is really crazy.
It's almost hard to wrap my head around that because, so people think, wow, it's so crazy right now. Well, we're not even talking 2002, 2007. We're not even close to the numbers in the 1980s.
I know. But, it's kind of a scary thing. You just wonder because there's only so much land out there. And I know that builders struggle to find land, and people, it's all about quality of life. And so a big part of the quality of life is not having to spend too much time on the road. And what's happening is you have to go further and further out in order to find land to build, and then people have to commute a long way, and that's not so good.
Right. I know. So I don't know what's going to happen. Also, the cost of land and, what's going on in King County with getting permits.
Yep.
It's really slowing down the building process for those who even have the land or are wanting to build. Right.
That's very true. Yeah.
So it all is having an effect. And then the third reason why is that home values have still not returned to where they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like values are going up a lot. And they are, and maybe there's some small little niche areas where they might have caught back up to 2000, the
there
early
are
2000s,
pockets,
there's pockets. But as a whole, we're not there yet.
No,
we're still
especially
not
in
there
other
yet.
parts of the country. We're fortunate here in Seattle, but yeah, definitely they have a long way to go. So feel free to go out, shop for a home, come to the Riley Johnson team and get your pre-approval.
Yeah, don't be scared. We got you. Okay, so thank you guys so much for tuning into Financial Fitness Northwest. We hope that you found the information valuable. To learn more about our show and our guests that we have in studio, please check us out on www.financialfitnessnw.com. And please go on there and look at Jim Olson. There's so much ways you could give back to that amazing Project Violet. So thank you for tuning in. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.